You close the video immediately. Every time. You see another transformation story, another motivational speaker promising change in 90 days. Another expert with their system. Another guru with their method. You click away before the first minute even finishes because you've heard it all before. You know how this goes? They show you before and after photos. They tell you about morning routines. They explain their 3-step system. They share their favorite productivity hack. And somewhere between the inspirational music and the forced enthusiasm, you realize you're watching the same content you've seen 1,000 times before. The same empty promises wrapped in different packaging. The same cycle of motivation followed by disappointment, followed by abandonment, followed by shame. But here's what you don't know. Here's what the people selling you courses and programs and systems don't want you to know. There's a way to compress years of growth into months. There's a way to reshape your entire identity while everyone else is still figuring out their morning routine. There's a way to build unbreakable discipline while others are still trying to find their motivation. And it has nothing to do with positive thinking, nothing to do with goal setting, nothing to do with visualization or affirmations or any of the modern nonsense that's designed to make you feel good about doing nothing. The people who know this secret, they don't talk about it publicly. They don't write books about it or create courses about it or speak at conferences about it. They implement it in silence while the rest of the world chases methods that are designed to fail. They understand something that the self-help industry doesn't want you to understand because it's too simple, too uncomfortable, and too effective to be packaged and sold. 300 years before productivity gurus were born, before morning routine influencers existed, before anyone had even imagined the concept of life hacking, there was a man named Miyamoto Musashi. He lived in a time when failure meant death, when mistakes couldn't be undone with an apology, when the only way to survive was to become something more than human. He spent decades in complete isolation, refining not just his technique with a sword, but his entire approach to existence. He discovered that transformation isn't about adding new habits or learning new skills or following someone else's system. He discovered that real change happens when you eliminate everything that isn't essential until only the absolute core remains. And then you build from that foundation until you become someone who cannot be defeated by circumstance, by comfort, by the endless distractions that keep ordinary people trapped in ordinary lives. The modern world has made weakness comfortable. It is optimized for distraction, for convenience, for the illusion of progress without the pain of actual growth. It has convinced people that they can transform their lives by reading the right book, buying the right course, following the right influencer, downloading the right app. But the people who actually change, the ones who go from where you are now to where you want to be, they understand something different. They understand that 90 days isn't enough time to build new habits. 90 days isn't enough time to create lasting change through positive thinking or goal setting or visualization exercises. 90 days is exactly enough time to destroy who you used to be and rebuild yourself from nothing. The siege begins the moment you decide to stop listening to the voices that tell you to start small, to be realistic, to be kind to yourself, to take your time, to make it sustainable. Those voices are the voices of people who have never experienced real transformation. Those voices are the voices of people who are more interested in being comfortable than being strong. Those voices are the voices of people who will still be exactly where they are now, a year from now, still making excuses, still waiting for the right moment, still believing that motivation comes before action instead of after it. The first battle happens before you even get out of bed. While the rest of the world is hitting snooze, while the rest of the world is scrolling through their phones, while the rest of the world is giving themselves permission to start tomorrow, you are already engaged in combat. You are fighting against the version of yourself that wants to stay exactly where he is. You are fighting against the gravity of your old identity. You are fighting against every habit, every pattern, every excuse that has kept you trapped in the same cycle of disappointment and abandonment. And if you win this first battle, if you get up when every fiber of your being wants to stay down, if you choose action when every instinct is screaming for comfort, if you silence the voice that says you can start tomorrow instead of today, then you have already accomplished something that most people will never experience. You have already proven that you are capable of choosing difficulty over ease, growth over comfort, truth over the comfortable lies that keep people stagnant. But winning the first battle is only the beginning. The real work happens in the hours that follow, in the moments when no one is watching, in the repetitions that seem meaningless but are actually the foundation of everything. While others are consuming content about transformation, you are doing the work that creates transformation. While others are talking about their goals, you are doing the work that makes goals irrelevant because you've already become the person who achieves them. While others are searching for the perfect method, the perfect system, the perfect plan, you are implementing the oldest method in the world. The method that has been refined by warriors and monks and artists and builders across centuries. The method that requires no special equipment, no special knowledge, no special circumstances. Only the willingness to do the same simple things every day until they become who you are. The world will try to convince you that discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. That motivation is something that comes and goes. That change happens gradually, slowly, gently, with small steps and baby words and comfort and understanding. But the people who actually change, the ones who go from where you are now to where you want to be, they understand something different. They understand that discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. It's about training yourself to want to do the things that create the life you want to live. They understand that motivation is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite for it. They understand that real change happens when you eliminate everything that isn't essential and focus obsessively on what remains until the person you used to be becomes unrecognizable to you. The elimination process is painful. It requires you to say no to the things that feel good in the moment but keep you trapped in the long term. It requires you to cut out the people who support your weaknesses instead of challenging your strengths. It requires you to remove the distractions that provide entertainment but prevent mastery. It requires you to create empty space in your life, to embrace boredom, to sit with discomfort until it transforms into clarity. Most people can't handle this elimination process because it requires them to sacrifice immediate pleasure for future strength, to give up the illusion of progress for the reality of growth, to choose the uncomfortable path that leads somewhere over the comfortable path that leads nowhere. But here's what the uncomfortable path looks like in practice. It looks like waking up before dawn, not because you're disciplined, but because you understand that the first hours of your day determine the trajectory of your entire existence. It looks like working on your most important task while your mind is still sharp, before the world has had time to infect your thoughts with other people's priorities and expectations. It looks like saying no to social events, to entertainment, to the endless stream of digital noise that keeps you distracted from the work that actually matters. It looks like embracing silence, not as punishment, but as the space where real thinking happens. It looks like repetition without visible progress, day after day, until the repetition itself becomes the progress. The people who understand this process, they don't talk about their transformation until after it's complete. They work in secrecy because they know that speaking about goals before achieving them weakens the commitment to achieve them. They understand that the energy you spend talking about what you're going to do is energy that isn't being spent doing it. They understand that every time you share your plans with someone else, you get a hit of dopamine that tricks your brain into feeling like you've already accomplished something when you've actually accomplished nothing. They understand that real change happens in the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And that space is meant to be private, personal, and protected from the opinions and expectations of people who have never been there themselves. The isolation required for real transformation is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is the pain of being alone when you don't want to be alone. Isolation is the choice to remove yourself from the influences that prevent you from becoming who you need to become. It's the choice to spend time with your thoughts instead of other people's thoughts. It's the choice to work on your weaknesses instead of validating your strengths. It's the choice to embrace the discomfort of honest self-assessment instead of the comfort of comfortable lies. This isolation is temporary, but necessary. It lasts as long as it takes for the new version of yourself to become stronger than the old version. It lasts as long as it takes for discipline to become character. It lasts as long as it takes for the person you are becoming to feel more real than the person you used to be. The mundane repetition that creates this transformation seems almost absurd when you describe it to someone who has never experienced it. Wake up at the same time every day. Do the same exercises every day. Work on the same project every day. Read the same types of books every day. Eat the same foods every day. Remove the same distractions every day. The repetition feels boring, pointless, like you're not making progress when in fact the repetition is the progress. Each repetition is a brick in the foundation of your new identity. Each repetition is a vote for the person you're becoming over the person you used to be. Each repetition is a declaration that you choose difficulty over ease, growth over comfort, truth over the comfortable lies that keep people trapped in the same patterns year after year. The 90-day framework isn't about achieving a specific outcome in 90 days. It's about becoming someone who achieves outcomes in 90 days. It's about reshaping your identity through action rather than through intention. It's about proving to yourself that you are capable of commitment when most people are only capable of interest. It's about demonstrating that you can choose discomfort over ease when most people are still choosing ease over discomfort. The specific goals you set at the beginning of the 90 days become almost irrelevant by the end, because you have already become someone who sets goals and achieves them. You have already become someone who can be trusted with bigger challenges, more complex problems, more significant responsibilities. The old version of yourself will resist this process with every tool at his disposal. He will try to convince you that you need more information before you start, that you need the perfect plan before you commit, that you need to be more prepared, more ready, more certain. He will offer you 1,000 reasons why today isn't the right day, why tomorrow would be better, why you should wait until next week, next month, next year when things are more settled, less complicated, more convenient. But the person you are becoming recognizes these arguments for what they are. They are the last, desperate attempts of someone who benefits from your stagnation. They are the voice of comfort, trying to convince you to choose comfort over growth. They are the voice of fear, trying to convince you that fear is more important than courage. The transformation begins the moment you stop listening to that voice and start listening to the voice of who you're becoming. The voice of who you're becoming doesn't make excuses. It doesn't negotiate with comfort. It doesn't ask for permission from your weaknesses. It simply chooses action over inaction, progress over stagnation, growth over the illusion of safety. It understands that real safety comes from competence. Real confidence comes from capability, and real security comes from the knowledge that you can handle whatever challenges life presents. Because you have already proven to yourself that you can handle the challenge of becoming someone new. By the end of the 90 days, the person you used to be will feel like someone you used to know. The goals that seemed impossible at the beginning will feel inevitable at the end. The habits that seemed impossible to maintain will feel impossible to break. The identity that once felt aspirational will feel like the only identity that makes sense. You will look back at the person you were 90 days ago and barely recognize him because he was living in a completely different reality than the one you're living in now. He was making choices from fear while you're making choices from strength. He was reacting to life while you're creating it. He was surviving while you're thriving. The process continues beyond 90 days because real transformation isn't something that happens to you. It's something you become. The discipline you build during the 90 days becomes the foundation for everything that comes after. The identity you reshape through repetition becomes the lens through which you view every new challenge. The strength you develop through discomfort becomes the resource you draw from when life presents difficulties that would have defeated the person you used to be. You don't go back to who you were because who you were was never enough to handle the life you want to live. You keep moving forward because forward is the only direction that makes sense when you understand that growth isn't a destination, it's a way of being. The secret that the self-help industry doesn't want you to know is that transformation isn't complicated. It doesn't require special knowledge, special circumstances, or special abilities. It requires the willingness to do the simple things consistently until they become who you are. It requires the courage to eliminate everything that isn't essential until only the core remains. It requires the patience to repeat the same actions day after day until repetition becomes mastery. It requires the wisdom to understand that comfort is the enemy of growth, and that real security comes from the knowledge that you can handle discomfort when it's necessary. The people who know this secret implement it in silence, while the rest of the world chases methods that are designed to fail. They understand that the most powerful transformations happen when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when no one is documenting the process for social media. They understand that real change is too important to be shared in real time, too precious to be diluted by the opinions of people who have never experienced it themselves. They work in the space between who they were and who they're becoming, and they emerge from that space as someone unrecognizable to the person they used to be. You can close this video right now and go back to consuming content about transformation. You can go back to following influencers who promise to teach you how to change your life in 90 days. You can go back to buying courses and programs and systems that are designed to make you feel good about doing nothing. Or you can recognize that this moment is the beginning of something different. This moment is the decision point where you choose whether to continue being someone who talks about change or someone who creates it. This moment is where you decide whether to keep waiting for the perfect conditions or to start creating change in the conditions you have right now. The siege begins with a single decision. The decision to stop being someone who makes excuses and start being someone who makes progress. The decision to stop being someone who needs motivation and start being someone who creates it. The decision to stop being someone who follows systems and start being someone who creates results. The decision happens in this moment, in this breath, in this choice to click away from the video that promised you everything and start doing the work that actually creates change. The work that no one talks about because it's too simple, too uncomfortable, and too effective to be packaged and sold. The work that transforms you from the inside out until the person you used to be becomes unrecognizable to you, until the life you used to live becomes impossible to return to, until the only choice left is to keep moving forward into the person you're becoming and the life you're creating through the only method that actually works. The method that has been refined across centuries by people who understood that real transformation isn't about adding something to who you are. It's about eliminating everything that isn't essential until only the core remains, and then building from that core until you become someone who cannot be defeated by circumstance, by comfort, by the endless distractions that keep ordinary people trapped in ordinary lives. The method that requires no special equipment, no special knowledge, no special circumstances. Only the willingness to do what needs to be done until it becomes who you are.